Good day, ladies and gents, and welcome to our webinar, The Brave New Voices in the Boardroom, and why they're talking about customer journeys. My name is Anthony Odler, and I'm your host and your admin today with support from Lisa Nolte. Thank you very much for joining us today, and I'm very excited to get into this. Before I introduce the speakers, the obligatory housekeeping. You did read correctly, yes. Please stick around and we'll make sure that you get your Starbucks gift card. We have made time also for a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, please do pop them into the little Q&A widget at the bottom, and we'll do our very best to get to it. If not in real time, then after the fact. And finally, just so that you're aware, at the end of the webinar, please take 20 seconds to answer a question or two about how we did. This is very important information for us. It helps us to do better in future. The roadmap for today. We are going to spend a few minutes looking at the current business environment and how we've seen the boardroom transform. Then we'll look at a few case studies and businesses that have successfully addressed some of these challenges. And if there's time, we'll have a quick poll and then we'll get into the Q&A. Now I'd like to introduce our panelists. I'm very happy to be joined today by Bruce Eidsvik, our North American president. Hi, Bruce.
Hello.
And we are also joined by Frank Tessigny, VP Sales and Channel of the same region. Hi there, Frank.
Good afternoon, Anthony.
And our own Michael Brenson, CEO and co-founder of inQuba. Hi there, Mike.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks so much for being here, guys. I'm going to go quiet for a little bit now, and I am going to hand over to Bruce for the first section of the content. Thanks, Bruce.
Hey, thanks, Ant, and welcome everybody. Good afternoon for those on the East, and good morning for those on the Pacific Coast. I'm on Mountain Daylight, so it's lunchtime for me. It's great to be here, and actually it's great to be back in the customer experience business. And I think more importantly, it is really great to be working with Mike and Frank again. Our relationship goes back a long time, longer than I want to share today, but we're still on the same mission, and it's great to have Lisa and Ant as part of that mission. I wanted to set some trends to start off with, what we're seeing in the market. We put these slides together a few days ago, but that first bullet there, inflation and recessionary concerns dominate the news, couldn't be more true this morning, especially after yesterday's rout. The market definitely does not like inflation, and they don't like high interest rates. Though I will say, frankly, I don't think we have a choice, or the Fed has a choice to. We've got to tame the inflation monster, and so we're in this position, the position we're in. The other thing we're seeing is, of course, labor shortages. That is still a major issue. I think supply chain issues are improving. That labor shortage actually impacts our industry in a very significant way, and that's through how we all deliver customer service. And I've seen one statistic where wait times and contact center queues have tripled this year. So that is not good. And a large part of that is due to just the extreme shortage, and everybody's sort of returning to normal life. You've seen this with the airlines. Air Canada was even saying that they don't want you to call them because they just can't answer. And I'm sure that's not what they'd like to do. From all this, it's no surprise that budgets are being cut. Makes sense. And a bit of the good news, frankly, out of this is there is a refocus on customer retention. Always like, support the customers you have, support them as well as you can. But, and as importantly, be really efficient about customer acquisition. So those days of the big marketing budgets probably aren't there right now, but customer acquisition remains important. So that's good to see. All this wraps up around sort of a news headline of profitable growth is a priority. And I will say that I'm a believer in that. I've always believed that profitable growth is a smart way to grow your company, not growth at all costs. So I think that's a theme that will become stronger as we move forward. Now, if you look at what CEOs are saying, I mean, it ties in perfectly with the trends I just outlined. Profitable growth challenges, new customer market share, et cetera. This is so the word cloud for CEOs, but there's a bit of a disconnect, frankly, with customer experience executives, where the sort of the older standards of loyalty, which that's never going away, thank God. But Net Promoter Score, CSAT, sort of still dominate the word cloud. Now, it is nice to see customer journey taking more of a stage there, but I think there's an opportunity here to align sort of CX priorities more closely with the C-suite CEO priorities. You'll see as well, when it comes to the CMO, some similar trends. Marketing budgets, again, not a surprise, have been slashed. They're down to 6.4. I think they were averaging around 11. I have to say, from an experience perspective, I've never seen budgets that big, but this, as an SVP of marketing and demand. However, this is for consumers as well, where those marketing budgets just have to be bigger because the workload that they have and responsibility to generate leads. So nonetheless, budgets are going to be curtailed. What I found interesting in my research is that, lo and behold, I was looking for news about CX budgets being cut, but they aren't. And I think that's interesting and actually really good news and somewhat logical if you look at the trends. What I like is that reorientation of the CX budgets and the marketers' budgets are towards improving retention and delivering satisfaction, as their primary CX objectives. On the other hand, when it comes to CX objectives, I'm really happy to see that customer acquisition is starting to float up as a priority. So that's good. So it's not just about retention and loyalty, but it's about customer acquisition as well. Somewhat focused more on the relationship side. Technology that improves efficiency is a priority. That is really nice to see. And we are, as I mentioned, starting to see some alignment between the CEOs and the CFOs and CXOs, and that's around the customer journey and really getting into the detail of where those journeys are occurring and what's happening in them. And it's nice to see that the CEOs want to see that. So from my perspective, there is a great opportunity for CMOs and CXOs to start collaborating around their objectives. And I'll take one step back. I think there's even a bigger opportunity here. And this is the emergence of the modern professional collaboration. I really think, and I do a lot of advising on this, that there's an opportunity for better collaboration across the business. And so we think this emergence is really good for industry and for business. It's going to be commercially savvy. It's going to be digitally driven. It will be truly collaborative. And in that respect, I mean collaborative around KPIs and goals and objectives. If those aren't aligned, then the likelihood of alignment for actual day-to-day activities is likely going to be low. So it's nice to see joint objectives and joint KPIs being driven. Data strong, multidisciplinary, customer-focused, curious, so you're always testing, but driven by evidence and data. And then getting into the detail, to solve those problems and really looking at how your cohorts of customers are reacting to those problems. So in that respect, it would be good to understand what those customer success drivers look like for these new professional collaborators. And in that point, I wanted to hand over to Frank to sort of outline those customers, those collaboration success needs. Frank, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Bruce, and good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I think in the context of what you just described, I think how that manifests itself is it changes, or it has changed dramatically the impact on what the requirements for success are for businesses. And I think the first ones and the most the most important are around the areas of rapid innovation and rapid iteration cycles. And what that does not necessarily talk about is important to be rapidly innovating, but more importantly, it's about the outcome of that, which is about a shortened and reduced time to value. That is the clear outcome of a rapid innovation and a rapid iteration cycle, is the ability to get things done much more quickly. No longer are the days of an 18-month, 24-month project to do something, to respond to something in the market acceptable. That just doesn't cut it anymore for a business to be successful. Similarly, you have to be working with real-time data. it's not acceptable anymore to rely on, you know, last year's analytics to drive your strategy or your actions. Not good enough. I think the recognition of a digital accelerated organization that responds to what is clearly, you know, the tipping point of self-service as a consumer's preferred course of dealing with a provider, we've passed that point. We all as individuals prefer self-service, whether it be a kiosk at the airport, an ATM at the bank, or speaking into an AI-enabled self-service who understands who I am and the particular requirements I'm required along my journey at that particular point in my journey is the key. And those are the kind of the new requirements that businesses have. So with the next slide, if we can transition to kind of the tools that therefore that manifest out of that. As I mentioned, real time, it's really important that we understand the opportunity and therefore the benefit that comes from impacting what we'll say is the experience as the experience happens. That at every point in the granular detail of the customer's journey, that we understand as a provider of service to that consumer where they are, and therefore in real time the ability to address them. Of course, digital first, that is the preferred method by which almost regardless of age, quite frankly, the preferred method of engagement with providers is digital first. And so the tools need to be digitally first enabled. But it also needs to be multidisciplinary. You can't have silos within organizations, again, are no longer, except we have a holistic view of the entire experience across channels, across departments, across any of the silos that existed previously, in an ability to be able to understand the opportunity that you have in dealing with that customer from the moment they walk in the door to the moment they continue to engage with your product or services. The way to do that is you need tools to be able to test and repeat so that you can optimize and you can orchestrate and you can deliver a customer experience that is efficient in getting them where they need to go. If we go to back to the title slide of the webinar, which is around kind of the brave new voices in the boardroom, I can't think of anyone better who can speak to who those brave new voices are and how they're manifesting and impacting the boardroom discussions is Mike Brenson, our CEO and co-founder. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Frank. I was actually in a workshop earlier this week, and I was asked to be the brave new voice in the boardroom. It's a large telco. They operate across 14 countries, and it was exactly what Bruce was talking about. Just disconnect in the dialogue between what the C-suite is talking about, particularly around recessionary times, budget cuts, retention, and really what the CX department is talking about, which is NPS and CSAT. And we had a workshop where they asked us our views on bridging this particular gap. And I think the only way to really bridge the gap is to start for organizations, including the CMOs talk about this, but the CXOs, there needs to be a shift in language. And we really, there's several metrics, but the one that we spoke about was either net customer churn or net revenue churn, which is a really, really good metric to take a look at the customers that you have at the beginning of the year, to take a look at those who quit versus those who expanded their services, and over the revenue that you started the year with. And they really like this concept and the idea of using predictive modeling to then tie your CX or any of your other variables to that. But the conversations popping up far more broadly. We deal with teams across the world, and we're seeing it pop up in different formats. There's a very large retailer that we work with, and this has actually popped up structurally. It's not just a brave new voice in the boardroom. A group of execs were tasked with really setting up a parallel business structure, and it looks a lot like that collaboration slide that you were talking about, where the business structure is a flat structure. Your marketing person, your CX person, your BI person, your digital head all sit or at least virtually connected in the same area, in the same structure, driving the business. tools that they're using are very different tools. They're not operating in divisions. They're actually looking at the same screen to solve the same problem. And the point you raised around 2 years versus 2 months, those are the kind of cycles that we're seeing these innovation hubs or these customers work in, where they want to solve a problem and they solve that problem. The group of people are sitting together, they're not working across divisions, and they're moving in cycles. So we're seeing a lot of this as a banking customer that we work with, where they did this slightly differently. They set up a digital overlay with very powerful people in the organizations, and they have a huge amount of autonomy that overlays what's happening in the product area. So the brave new voices are, we would call them digital natives. They're people who are very comfortable working digitally, and they're also super comfortable with data. We're seeing people who are strong with data rise up to the top very, very quickly and command these kinds of positions. So it's not one voice, and it's emerging differently, but the qualities and the attributes of those individuals are collaborative, digital natives, and people who are very comfortable working across disciplines and very comfortable working with data. So I'm going to move on and really just share and transition into the ways we're bringing this about, because a lot of it is conceptual. We can talk about the themes, and we can talk about the economy, and we can talk about multidisciplinary teams, but what can you do about it as an organization? How can you get there, and how can you make an impact in a short period of time? So inQuba is an 11-year-old company in the customer experience space, and about 4 or 5 years ago, we really transitioned. We said that the tools, the CX tools, were broad brushstroke. They were blunt. We weren't happy with the broader domain, and we started looking at ways of getting far more impact a lot more quickly, and really working in this environment. I think, if anything, COVID lockdown accelerated the inQuba business, because we saw a lot of what we thought would take a longer period of time converge over a 2-year period. And we've done a lot of experimenting over the last 5 years to develop a methodology to really bring these multidisciplinary teams together. And we've broken it down into 5 steps. The first step is, and the essence of this is, the customer journey is the vehicle that carries a multidisciplinary team. So you start looking at the organization from a customer's perspective, which is not really a new idea. The CX fraternity and field has been saying for a long time, well, you need to look at the customer from the customer's perspective. The problem with the approaches, the traditional approaches within CX, is that the data points that you have to support them are too vague, they're too aggregated, and they're too far apart. So we took a view of how can you actually do this predominantly with data, where the customer journey and being able to visualize that customer journey is the first step. And what we do in that step is we model and map customer journeys, and we do it at pace. But instead of doing a journey mapping, we do a journey rendering. We understand what are the key points in the journey, where the goal points, where the drop-off points, where are any other kind of points that are important points. And we then get those data points through a range of interfaces, either it's Google Tag Manager or Adobe, or through APIs, or through a CDP, which is OEM'd into our platform. And those are cross-channel. It can be online app dropping off to a call center. It can be a retail store. It can be a chatbot. We really want to see the flow as the customer moves through those particular channels and what's happening with that particular customer. That's step one, is really organizing the data and letting the data self-render. Step 2 is bringing in CX, and CX has typically been a division or a separate division, but we want to bring that directly into the data so that it's not separate anymore. You don't have to go to the CX team and say, hey, what happened there? And please decompile the data. We want it to be right there in the data. So the way that we manage that is wherever there's a drop-off, directly in the drop-off within the tech itself, the journey tech itself, the inQuba platform, we can generate, we've moved away from the word survey even, and we call it a dialogue because we like this idea of engaging and chatting and interacting. And it's far more like conversational commerce to say, for example, hey, Frank, we saw you got to this particular point and you dropped off. Can we help you? And we then use that as a survey feedback. We can have 5 reasons. Was it one of these 5 reasons, or tell us a little bit more? And then we use that particular feedback. Step 3 is the analytics. How do we bring all the data, and it's rich data, profile data about the customer and attribute data, voice of the customer data and journey data, and how do we bring that all together in a rich analytics environment? And that's step 3. And then step 4, step 1, 2, 3 is what we call journey analytics. Step 4 and step 5 are what we call journey orchestration. And journey orchestration is really moving into the realm of the marketer. I think what's super interesting here is that the role of the marketer used to be bringing people to the front door. And as to Bruce's point, that it just doesn't cut it any longer, because the data that we're getting just shows massive drop-off post that point, and I'll take you through some of the case studies. And then step 5 is how can we have tools and data to be able to see what the impact is, what the change in marketing is, what the intervention is, what the change in operational activity is, and how does that impact the journey with test and control groups? Is it pushing people off that particular journey? Are the interventions working? What happens with the customer experience? And we design a capability and a lab environment with the inQuba customer journey platform, where we can simulate all of these variables and all of these experiments together, which is something that's quite unique. I think the interesting thing is that we are really covering a range of use cases in the journey. It can be customer acquisition, customer insight, cross-sell, upsell, any of these that you see. And the teams that we're working with, these high-impact teams, when we get there, they're already doing these things, but they're often doing it really badly. They're going over to the CX guys and they're saying, well, please, can we have some data? Or the marketing guys are speaking to the CX guys or saying, well, we need an operational intervention. So they don't have the platform and the tools to do that. And that's what customer journey management does. The way that we do this and the way that we approach this is quite unique, because we've kind of, and I could have had the light shut off a few years ago for saying this, but we've relegated NPS, because we've seen that NPS is one driver amongst many that cause people to move through towards goals. And we've got the data to actually show that now. So it's not even a point of view, it's a fact. The metrics that we focus on is the dollar-based metrics. So we say something when your customers reach their goals, you reach your goal too. Obviously, if someone's trying to get a credit card and you are able to get them that credit card, you as an organization will make money, and your customer will get to that goal. So we're very interested in dollar or revenue-based goals, whether they're onboarding goals, retention goals, but something that we can monetize and we can quantify. So what I'm going to do is really move through 3 case studies quite quickly to demonstrate and illustrate these principles. I'm not going to go through every single detail. I really want to share a lot more what we're seeing in behavior, and having this amount of data. In many ways, it's like the first time the genome was encoded and people got so excited to kind of say, well, hey, this is really how it works. And with this level of data, we actually, this is the customer experience genome decoding, the kind of vastness of the data we're getting from customer journey management. So this is one of our banking clients. It's a large multinational bank called Standard Bank. And they've got a division called Shift, which is really leading the way in digital Forex. And they've created an environment and an app, an online capability for this division and for people to be able to purchase Forex digitally and to be able to make investments on a number of exchanges around the world using their wallet. And there are a whole lot of objectives and themes that we've spoken about that they wanted to achieve using customer journey management. So I'm going to jump straight into the results. The rendering that you see in this particular image is the exact rendering that a customer journey platform like the inQuba platform will render. And what's pretty amazing about this is that it self-organizes all the data, and the way it organizes it is it will show certain things. It will join all the points around, and it will show whether there's some kind of problem. This is ID validation started, and you can see people scanning, and now they're going in these loops over here, which means that we can see that there's a problem. There's further loops happening over there, and there is a loop back. In this particular way, the rendering painted user onboarding at this particular point over here, because some people are able to get there quicker depending on whether they're a bank customer or not a bank customer. So the things that were super interesting about this is when the picture emerged, and this is a real-time picture, changes in real time, so you can actually see as the data comes through. We could see 5 core points where customers were having a problem: signing up to register, ID validation and scanning, residential address provided, and going idle after Pip Declaration submitted. So we zoomed into each of these particular areas once we had loaded the data, and the tech is able to filter on the different paths, and we filtered down to, well, what are the top 6 paths, so that you're not looking at something so complex, and we're able to see that they represent 43% of the total customer traffic. So we definitely wanted to focus in on that, and a huge drop-off between sign up and started and users registered. Now, it's quite interesting. It's quite a niche app. So you'd imagine that someone who started using this would actually want to get to the end. They were able to get to just over 50%, which is it's actually pretty good for a financial services organization. I'll chat about some of the case studies where the numbers far lower than that. ID scanning was another area. I've shown the kind of looping around this. The intervention here was actually discussions with their tech provider, and there were very subtle things around instructions of how you use the scanner, and improvements were made to the scanner to make that a whole lot easier. Residential address, there was frustration being experienced there. And the last one is the Pip Declaration. Something that we've seen, and this is an amazing insight, is, and we call this a nudge, is that one would imagine that anything that you see in these journeys is something that would be something that you have to make a process change or website change or digital change. A lot of the time, it's people just don't understand where they are on the journey, and they need a nudge, or they need more context. So you can see the granularity that we go into. We design these nudges, so now your marketers sit right in that environment or in the platform, or if there's already a comms or marketing platform, the journey will trigger that particular nudge from that platform. But you can see the kind of granularity, like hello, Candy, we noticed that it took multiple attempts to scan your ID. Please tell us what's happening. So we know that that's happening at that point in time. And we've seen this nudging technique with this amount of data is producing incredible results. And I'm going to touch on those. the work that we do, we're pretty confident, providing we've worked with that use case before, that we can increase conversion within a range of 30% to about 100%, sometimes even several factors. So we've had projects where we've gone to 200 and 300%. In this one, we were able to increase conversion by onboarding conversion by 34% and reduce customers going idle by 61%. I'll talk a little bit about some of the other themes in two other case studies that I'm going to move through quite quickly. Second one is an idea of brand-infused journeys. And this was a problem brought to us by a diversified investment and insurance company. And I've seen we have companies who've joined the webinar today from investment and insurance companies. So I think this one will be of relevance. And the problem that they have is that this is a B2B business predominantly, and your retirement annuity comes as part of your employee benefits. So it's difficult for them to get access to the end customer and to speak to the end customer about what's happening, because you get this benefit often through your company. And they've designed messaging around that. They've got PDFs and brochures and so on, and they serve those out, but they don't know if those things actually land. So we came up with an execution from an idea that actually comes from Forrester, called a brand-infused journey. And the idea of a brand-infused journey is that each stage of the journey, what you want to do is you actually want to shape the emotion. And if you take a look at, well, how do you shape emotion? Well, you firstly have to understand what that emotion should be. So if you're saying an emotion, let's say it's like trust. If you want to establish trust as an investment or retirement annuity provider, you're going to have to do certain things at each stage of the journey. The first thing that you're going to have to do is make sure that people understand the ecosystem that they're operating in. They have to understand how the basics of how investment products work. They have to understand risk and return, and they have to understand their risk profile. And if they don't understand those things, as soon as the investment doesn't performs badly, in their eyes badly, they immediately will lose trust through, and that's really happened through poor communication and onboarding. So we shape we understand and we codify the emotion we want to create, and then we say, well, what do we need to do to create that emotion, and what tools does this organization have to be able to do that? And we then take a look at the as is, and within Journey, at least within inQuba Journey, we can take messages that an organization is sending, and we can create transactions or virtual transactions like this one, which is the welcome message. And we bring that in, and what we saw was quite startling, is that most of the customers actually stopped here, believe it or not. They didn't get the PDFs, they didn't get anything else. This was the grand total of the impact of the messaging. So we then took it a whole lot further, and we started collecting feedback, because we overlay the feedback directly at that particular point. And we say, like, hey, we sent you this welcome message, but you didn't respond. And we categorize that into different things. Is it a brand problem? Is it experiential? Is it functional? Or is it an economic problem? And based on the insights collected, we saw that 33% of the customers they didn't really understand this, and we asked a couple of questions, but they hadn't considered their retirement goal. So you were telling them to go to a portal, but they didn't know what the portal was or why they should go to the actual portal. We saw that 39% of the customers, even though the welcome message had spoken about the portal, didn't know about the portal. So it shows you like the impact of messaging. Sometimes people just don't see it because they're busy. So based on a number of repeats like this, we went and we redesigned this, and it wasn't one iteration, it was several iterations. And we did things like this. After the welcome message, instead of just trying to give it all the information, you clicked on a link, and that took you into a WhatsApp conversation. And in the WhatsApp conversation, the dialogue actually is generated by the inQuba platform. We ask people about their retirement journey and their retirement goals, and that sends them directly to a landing page about summarizing. We broke up all the PDFs into what we call snackable content that people can digest and they do understand. And we pull those things, we pull those things together, and from the landing page, we then move those people to the portal. And we're seeing some really, really fascinating things. And one of the most interesting things is that if you can get your customers to respond to what we call a nudge or an engagement where it's bi-directional, it really changes their behavior. So we've constructed our dialogues in a conversational way. As soon as we can get people communicating, 46% of those who communicated went on to register at the portal, and 31% improvement in portal registration we managed to get compared to the control group. One of the other things that we were able to do is we moved the engagement, the level of engagement from the 6% to over 25%. And we were able to do that over about a 6-week period using these particular techniques. And once again, you can see the kind of a level of granularity, like I haven't thought about my retirement, maintaining my current lifestyle, and so on. So we go into a lot of detail because we at a particular point. What I am going to do there is we thought we'd have time for 3 case studies, but we're running a little bit over, so I'm going to really jump through the last one very, very quickly. The third one is a banking customer. It's a retail bank, and their challenge was to get more visibility of people acquiring a credit card and going on to spend. And going back to what Bruce said about marketing budget, we've deployed this use case several times, and the shock that we got is that the level in the industry of people who go onto digital platform who really want a credit card and they'll end up spending on their credit card is in the low teens, and sometimes it drops into the single-digit figures. And you'd kind of think, well, if you want a credit card, you're going to get it, and then you're going to spend. And that's only happening to a fraction of the people who go through that. So there's massive room for improvement. And this banking customer wanted a whole lot of other things. They don't just want the conversion. They want to get insight. They want to understand store points. They want deep insight into why customers are doing these things. And they want to understand customer experience. So once again, this whole multidisciplinary kind of thing. And the end result that we got out of this, and I'm going to jump to that, and you can see the technique that we're using, the 5-step methodology is a similar methodology. The granularity of the communications is highly granular. So at any point, what we're doing, the technique that we're using is it's micro-segmentation. We understand the drop-offs. We can group them into 15 or 20 different buckets based on real-time voice of the customer at that particular point. And then based on that, we are designing these micro incentives or micro explanations or micro nudges or to move on to the next point. So we're getting a high impact because we're dealing with the very specific reasons, the behavioral reasons why that micro segment group is not moving to the next level. Once again, you can see the results. In this case, we really knocked it out the park. In not taken up, initiate, spend, and card activation, we were able to double, almost double, and over double those particular points in the journey. And if you get it 3 points of doubling in a journey, you get an exponential increase. And in this sample, you can see this is the no intervention, which is probably around 700 people. And using these techniques, we were able to get to around about 5,000. So you can see the cumulative impact as you nudge more and more people through these particular journey points. So that was the express train through the last one, and I'm going to hand over to Bruce for Q&A for a few minutes.
I'm going to jump in here. Here's the express version of Q&A. I'm just aware of the time. So we're going to jump in. I can't handle all of them. Unfortunately, they've reached us through various channels, but here we go. Number one, from Miles. Thank you for this question. Getting access to the data at my company is a nightmare, and we hold a lot of personally identifiable information, PII or HIPAA. How do you access and then protect? Mike, why don't you pick that up?
I'll give a very short answer. Start with digital. Digital data is definitely the easiest, and we choose digital as a channel because of that. Almost every company is set up now with Google Tag Manager or Adobe, and so technically you can get access to the data. The other thing that we are doing is that you can work with data that is not linked to a person, so anonymized data. It can be a session-based data that will paint the journey maps for you. It will paint the drop-off maps. It does fall short though, because you can't engage with those customers and you can't do VOC with those customers. I think that's where a bit of politicking comes into play, because the CX folk are already using that data to survey customers. So it would be exactly the same data protection policies in navigating it once you've got these journeys. And the marketing folk are using the exact same data to engage with customers. So companies are already using that data to collect surveys and to market with people. It's really about getting them used to the idea of doing it from the power of a digital journey. So that's the short answer.
Great, thanks, Mike. This question from Haley. What is the difference between journey analytics and behavioral analytics? Why don't you pick that up, Bruce?
Yeah, sure. That's actually really a great question, because we had a customer asking exactly the same question. And so actually, Frank and I went and did a little research on that. And it depends whose definition you want to listen to. They actually end up being very similar. What I'll say, and my difference is that behavioral is really more about the tech and the actual user experience with that platform, that website, right? Where do they click? Where do they move? Very important. A journey analytics sort of zooms out and looks at the full end-to-end experience. And where's that customer going? Where are they stalling? How are they continuing to proceed? So journey analytics takes a bigger perspective of the entire experience, whereas behavioral looks specifically at like, where did they click? That's my definition.
Great stuff. This, let's see if we can do this one quickly. From Saul, based on your experience, how could I get the attention of the right executives to get this budgeted?
I like that question.
Yeah, I'll take a shot at that one, Bruce. It's always the $1 million question, right? And I think the key in our experience, and where we've assisted our customers in getting that initial buy-in at the executive level, is about its hard dollar ROI. We're not asking our customers to take to think about qualitative, soft benefits that is so common in the kind of looking in the rearview mirror of the CX world. These are hard dollar-based ROIs that we're talking about. And the other thing is, we're not asking you to take a huge leap of faith. We're saying, give us the opportunity. We'll talk about this in terms of next steps. Give us the opportunity to quickly digest the inQuba platform in a manner that's easy to do, very quick, and to prove out. Gives the opportunity to prove ourselves in a very small basis, and then you can take that forward. Let us show you the quick ROI, and then take it from there. That's how you get their attention in today's economic world, is show them hard dollars, nothing else.
Thanks, Frank. Last one. What is the art in picking the right journey? We have a lot of journeys. Where should we start? Bruce?
No.
Sure.
Mike? So definitely, when you're heading out, pick a digital journey. because that's the fastest way to get an ROI. You can actually get an ROI around that. When I talk about an ROI, that you can make money within an 8 to 12 week period, not a soft ROI. You get more customers going through. The journeys that we like to start with are ones that you can get a hard dollar ROI out of quite quickly. And that would typically be an acquisition journey or onboarding journey. They are easier than a retention journey because they happen over a shorter time span. Retention journey is a tough one to start on because retention, that could span several months or even several years.
Yeah, and then maybe, I know we only have in fact, we have a minute left. You know, this is a good segue into next steps. Maybe you could advance. Yeah. So, you know, I think Mike's exactly right. It's probably an onboarding journey, but we actually have this great process called the Journey Accelerated Workshop that actually we're happy to you know, provide for those who joined for free. Usually we charge for it, but in that we bring a small group of people together to really, from your side, to understand the journeys that matter. And our team can really quickly help you understand that is the journey that should be deployed. What is great about that is once we understand that first journey, then we've also got this amazing offer called Grow in 90 offer. And, you know, for a really small amount, like 24K, 3 months, we should be able to deploy that journey, and to be specific, a digital-only journey, and get results. And from those Grow 90s, we're getting an ROI. We're delivering an ROI for our customers of around 10x. So it's sort of a no-brainer. I think, just maybe to conclude then, we thought a lot about the process of making it easy for our customers to get on the customer journey, you know, technology platform capabilities, and to make it really simple and easy. And so these two steps really do that. And what we're really suggesting is that, like, customer journey management has come into real time. That's the big takeaway. And that we can also understand those real customer journeys to really make an impact on the business. So I think that's it. And I know we've run out of time, and I'm conscious of everybody.
No, that's good. Thank you. So thank yous, first of all, to our speakers, Mike, Bruce, Frank, thank you very much. This has been super interesting. And obviously, thank you to our attendees for taking 45 minutes out of your day. It was wonderful to have you here. In the next 30 seconds, you are going to see a survey as you leave this. So please take another 20 seconds to give us some feedback. It's really important to us. And then please keep an eye on your inbox, because before the end of the week, you will see the content and, yes, the Starbucks gift card. That's a reason to look at your mail this week. So thank you very much again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.